Hello, everyone.
Mhm. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Um, I see some new faces. Uh, Erdell, I hope I was looking at the flyer, and I had to actually take the link that you had put on there and just copy the ID number and put it into Zoom.usa. I wasn't able to, the link wasn't live. So anyway, I don't know. Did you have this problem at all? Oh, you're on mute or down.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to because it's a PNG file.
Exactly.
It's kind of difficult because they're normally flattened to
Yeah.
like metadata will be removed.
Yeah.
Well, not
Okay.
necessarily.
I'm glad to. So again, hello, everybody. Let's wait a few minutes, if you don't mind, till we see how many people join us. And I am glad to see you, Rebecca and Chiquita. Good to see you.
Thank you. I look forward to the training.
Oh, yes. We have many things planned here and are very, very much looking forward to y'all's feedback. This is what's really important to figure out, how best we implement this. If you've all seen the recent publication of the Chronicle of Higher Education's The Next 10 Years in Higher Ed is the name of it. Um, it points to what we're doing as being one of the mainstays, the development of artificial intelligence, machine learning in our curricula and in our research. So, as I said, I see a few more people coming on. Let me wait a little bit before I make a general introduction. And our presenter for today is Dr. Erdal Maurice. But yeah, let's just wait a few more minutes. Hello, Nellie. Good to see you.
Hey, Dr. Alon.
And good to see Avalon.
Good afternoon.
Let's see.
I hope you all are enjoying this cooling of the temperature, even though it's in the high 80s. My cousin's down in South Florida, and man, I'm glad I'm not there. Okay, Tejal, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Hi, this is Teja.
Okay. Mm. Hey, John. Yeah, John, I'm on the 4 o'clock meeting. Are you joining us? Yeah, yes, go ahead. I'm on the 4 o'clock meeting.
All right, we have I guess, few more people still joining us. Um, Dr. Allo, ready to get started?
Okay, let's go ahead. Oh man. Okay, well, we should go ahead and get started. Um, very pleased to see you, those of you that are able to join us today, and I hope more of us will join us. Um, I just want to give a brief introduction before our speaker today, Dr. Erdal Maurice, starts. You know, we are very, very happy to be able to work with the faculty, staff, and students, and to bring forth and help build up your expertise using data science, which of course fosters artificial intelligence and machine learning. And this is very much an important opportunity because across the country, all institutions recognize and are developing their expertises in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So, what are our objectives here? First of all, this is sponsored by a grant from the what is called the Connecting Minority Communities grant, which has been running now for 2 years and is focused on building up our cyber infrastructure, our broadband capabilities, and also connecting the communities around us that are underserved. During the pandemic, we did have a serious situation where our students that live here in Tallahassee went home and didn't have connectivity, didn't have uh, computers, all kinds of issues. And this grant is helping to overcome that. But it's also helping to do what we're doing, and that is help faculty, staff, and student development with the how to utilize the tools of artificial intelligence, machine learning. And so this is a fundamentals course. We have a team of 6 data scientists here at the university that are working on this particular project and will be our various lecturers and instructors. It's very, very important for us to show you what resources there are. There are many, many resources that our instructor will tell you about today. And we want to get you connected to those resources. So we can tell you what the resources are, where they are, and then we want to do the third part and get you connected. So the resources are available on something that the National Science Foundation calls the National Research Platform. And so you'll find this first set of workshops where we'll be telling you about the fundamentals of uh, 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 artificial intelligence and machine learning. And then we will follow up with actually developing some hands-on uh, workshops that involve actually getting you connected onto the National Research Platform, where you will find available free of charge these resources that we're talking about. So very glad to see you. I'm very, very pleased that we have such a nice turnout. I will now turn it over to Dr. Erdal Maurice. So Erdal, please go ahead and introduce yourself and let's move forward. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? My name is Dr. Erdal Maurice. I'm in the mathematics department, but a technical I could be in any department. Quickly, just wanted to point this out right here. On Mondays, we have students who are working in the field using these tools. And just about every Monday, we have opportunities for them to speak and talk about what they're doing. And so if that's something that you may be interested in, or maybe your students might be interested in, or staff, you're welcome to join. Right. And then, so today's class is going to be a little bit more of a lecture style. Excuse me. The idea behind it is that we're assuming that you're starting from page 0. And then we kind of want to build you up as quickly as we can from that point. And so I'll do a lot of talking about just background information, but hopefully at the end, I can spice it up a little bit to kind of give you an idea of why this is so powerful and why we are pushing so hard to get as many people as we can involved in these projects. Oh, someone's joining. All right, so introduction, data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning. Um, what happens right here, we've seen an explosion in data in the last maybe 50 years. I think it was President Clinton that said, like, what was it, every 10 years, human knowledge doubled. And basically, all that information has been put on the web. We've been put in publications. We're doing financial transactions. And it used to be that all of this information just came in and then just left. But now we're starting to realize the power of all of this data that we have created. And they're created in many ways. But the key thing right here is that what can we do with all of this data? And for the longest time, this is what we kind of did with it, searching, indexing, asking questions from the data and seeing what popped out, doing statistics on the data. And it turns out that we found a new and different path, a different way of processing and learning and understanding that data. And that is what we call, excuse me, data science. Data science, or broadly, is the managing, manipulating, extracting, interpreting, and understanding. The key thing right here is tremendous amounts of data. Um, we're no longer dealing with just a simple Excel file full of some numbers, but thousands upon thousands of Excel files filled with numbers. Data science itself includes data preparation, mining of data, visualizing data, doing statistics on the data, but also it involves helping machines learn how to use that data, helping machines learn how to make decisions with that data. And then on top of that, artificial intelligence, when we start getting into actually using these data to make items that can make unique decisions, human-like decisions. Um, we're not going to go through so much of the theories in here, but just understand what we're focusing on is pattern recognition, visualization, creating databases. We do a lot of mathematics in the background, which is one of the nice things about data science is you do not need to have a strong mathematics background to work in the field, and also do a lot of statistics and modeling. But again, one of the beautiful things about this whole system right here is that you don't need a really, really strong background to work through all of these things. In fact, as you will see, the tools can help you with a lot of these as well. Career opportunities, one of the most basic reasons why we should do this right here is because it's becoming an economic driving point. I think right now in the market, almost all of the biggest companies are companies that are hiring or using data scientists. And a lot of small companies right now are getting started using data science and artificial intelligence. And so it's something our students will be aware of, something our students want to use, but also something that we would want to use to ourselves. All right, so applications of data science. So data science itself and how most of us may experience data science would be in the idea of working with specific data sets. Let's say, for example, you are in an advertising business. Well, you may try to collect tweets or posts, I guess we call them now, from users, and then use that data to help drive decisions. So, for example, you can try to compare people's tweets with how much of your products that they purchase, or when they purchase those products, or how often they use your products. And by being able to compile and put all that data together, what happens is that we then have something that we can then use to make decisions. One of the biggest changes it was, I think about 10 years ago, a professor told me that they're working in agriculture. And what happened was a student had done all of this work, they had done a proposal, they had gotten some data together, and then they had used the data to create a model. And then when they came out to talk to the professor in the field, the professor said, yeah, that's nice and all. But now that we're in the real world, we don't use any of that stuff. We basically go based up trial and error and our best practices that we've been using. That's what we're going to use here. We're not going to use your little tool that you created. The huge difference between then and now is that the tools that we are creating actually work and actually can be used to make decisions and actually have those processes work out. The field has flipped on its head, and so it's now about collecting the data and then pushing it through these models to help the models help us make decisions and help us to better understand what's happening in the world around us. They use it in driving. I think Tesla and also Waymo have both released self-driving cars on American streets right now. Netflix uses it to make decisions on what kind of movies you might want to watch. And it's used right now in speech recognition. I think Apple last week in their presentation, they showed off their new headphones that does live translations. And so with it, you can have one person who speaks only Spanish and one person who speaks only French, and they can sit at the table and talk to each other in their natural language and still be understood. Um, yeah, talk about a universal translator, from those sci-fi shows that I guess we watched back in the day. But now these things are actually possible. Live translations, not waiting 5 minutes, 10 minutes, is doing it live. Literally, the headphones they showed would dampen the sound, so you would literally just hear the English. If you're an English speaker in your ears, you reply in English, and the person would hear the Spanish in the ears, for example. It's crazy. The things that were just impossible a few years ago are now becoming possible. Another big place this is used as in healthcare. Actually, one of our students presented, was it last semester, on being able to better identify health issues. They took images and they were able to push it through a machine learning algorithm, and they improved the accuracy of making the diagnosis. And so it's again, it's making a huge impact. I think also on 60 Minutes, I saw an episode where something they were doing brain. Um, they had to go in and get the brain tissue from the patient, and literally while the patient was there, they would throw it to an AI algorithm, and then it'll tell them whether it's cancerous or not. And so they could actually make the decision at that point, as opposed to having the patient come back a few weeks later, when time was of the essence in these things. Anyways, so those are some real life examples. Data science itself can do lots of things right here. Regression, clustering, anomaly detection, deep learning, time series and forecasting. Um, it includes mining of text, and it can also do something called feature selection. But the basic idea right here is that all of these are working with large data sets, large models, and for some reason, these models do a much, much better job than we did back in the day when we had to find the p-value, and the p-value was less than 0.05, then you had something that was significant. But could you really truly make a large amount of decisions and expect the outcomes that you're looking for? That we're moving into the world, but the answer is yes, that you can actually do these things. All right, so data scientists, what they do is they collect data, they analyze data, they put it into what's called a pipeline. So the data comes in, the data gets cleaned. So they put in data that's missing, they remove columns that no longer need to be used, they compress columns together so that maybe 3 columns will come down to 1, and then they push it through an algorithm that allows them to have insights and allows them to get solutions and be able to make decisions. That's the basic work of the data scientist. The important thing to note here is that this is data agnostic. And so what that means is that if you're in chemistry, you can work with a data scientist. If you're in English, you can work with a data scientist. If you're in the arts or the sciences, you can work with the data scientist. All the data scientists is need to have the data, an idea of what you're trying to do, and then they can kind of run it through a process and give you insights. That's one of the most powerful things about the data science. And it's actually one of the invitations that we'll make at the end is we we can work in pairs, we can work in groups. You have your specialty, you have your focus, you have all the stuff that you need or things that you want to do. The data scientist can help you. You don't have to have a data science of Spanish, for example, to get someone to help you. Very interesting. Data scientist right now is maybe one of the best jobs right now, looking forward. And like I said, it's just so much value that they can add to businesses, add to universities, add to people's daily lives. Types of data scientists, machine or jobs you can get with data scientists, machine learning statisticians, data engineer, actuarial scientist, spatial data scientist, mathematician. All these people can work inside the data science field. But you can work in there too. All right, so that takes us into artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence differs from data science in one key idea, one key way, that the process for managing the data goes through a neural network, a network that's based on how the human brain is constructed, as opposed to how, mathematical and statistical models. It turns out the human brain works very well, and so copying it has led us to some astounding capabilities that we thought, well, not thought, because we watch a lot of movies about AI. We'll get there in a little bit, but it goes through a different process, a neural network, and those neural network right here allows us to come up with very different human-like capabilities. The basic idea of artificial intelligence or deep learning is what happens is that you have neurons that connect to neurons. And what happens is that each neuron has within it a small mathematical formula that allows it to behave like a human being, a neuron. And so what happens is that the neurons start out in a basic state, and as you feed it more and more data, that data allows the neurons to change. And it turns out that the behavior that those neurons then follows kind of some like a process that a human being would follow, i.e., it takes the data in, it breaks the data up into its parts, it goes through some kind of thinking process where it analyzes the data and tries to figure out what about the data is most important and most useful, and then it uses that to then make a decision or to make a prediction. That process is more efficient in some circumstances than your machine learning algorithms, which are just trying to make predictions. This has happened before. I can use that to kind of predict what will happen next. That added layer of kind of, as you go through each layer in your neural network, kind of thinking through and trying to understand what's happening, gives the AI a different advantage over your machine learning algorithms. All right, and so let's kind of take a little look at how the AI kind of works to kind of help us in our real everyday life by using what we call generative models or generative AI. Generative AI is when you first train a model, artificial intelligence model, and then you kind of let that model loose on the world and allow people to go through and use that model in their everyday lives with questions and problems and concepts that they have. Let's look at a few examples. ChatGPT is a very famous example. Generative pre-trained transformer. The generative is that it'll create answers. The pre-trained, it's got trained on large data sets. And the transformer part is that it's transforming language models. So what happens is taking data, it's taking text, it's breaking that text down, and then using that text to transform it into other text. So TrackGPT is a big example. Where is the example I'm looking for? All right. And so another example that these things for uses something called mini apps. Let's say I have a problem like me. This is actually a problem that I have is that I have a child. He's in the I have two of them actually. One of them in the fourth grade and the other one in the third grade. Yeah, I know they're still young. I know, right? And what happens is that every week they come home with this list of spelling words. And every week, try to write those words down and try to spell them out. And I was saying, you know what? Sometimes I have other things to do. Is there a way I can kind of help them practice or do this thing right here? And so I had a problem. I have an elementary child who does spelling practice. You may have a problem. You may have, for example, this task, a repetitive task that you do every day or every week, something that you may want to automate. Or you may have a small question. Maybe you're teaching chemistry, and then you want to teach your students how to balance equations, for example, and you want to have maybe make it more interesting or maybe make it interactive, right? And so in this example right here, I asked it to please code a spelling app. The app will choose a word from a list, pronounce it, and then the user will attempt to spell the word. You can load the list of the words. The app will keep score of the number of correct and incorrect words that you gave the student. So literally, that was the first prompt I gave it to the machine. Now, where did I put that thing? Oh, there we go. And so what you see right here is, so what happened was I just went through a back and forth with the machine. So what happened was I said, hey, please code the spelling app, all the stuff that I need to do right here. And then what happened was it went ahead and coded it, and it gave me a spelling app. I actually used that app for a little while, but then the kids were breaking it. And so I went back to it and I said, okay, now that I have this app right here, can you go ahead and rewrite this app, but make some changes for it? Oh, for example, I actually ran into a problem. The code wasn't running properly. So I just asked it how to work the code properly, and they told me what to do. It's crazy. But anyways, I got it running in Python, and then I realized that it might have been more efficient for me if I had it in HTML because I have a website. And so what I did was my website here, I just created a extra page on my website right here. And then here you have the app running live. And so if you just click on choose a file, they have a list of words that come in here. It then says 10 words were loaded. Click next word. Inch. It will spell the word. It will give the word H, and then I check the answer. If it's correct, next. Solve. And if you spell it wrong, it will tell you the word is wrong. Tell you what word was right or wrong. And then if you hit end right here, it will give them an overall score, and it will tell you which words you need to practice. And so it'll give me an idea. So while I'm off washing the dishes or whatever, it'll kind of give me an idea of how they did, where they were struggling at, what words we need to go over, and all that kind of thing. The interesting thing that I found was that, kids can manipulate us just a little bit, right? But with this one right here, because it was them against the computer, they were more focused. They were more willing to try to get as high a score as they can, and it still was able to give me feedback and help me. And so it was just an interesting example, a small mini app, something that helped you in your everyday. And if you think about it for a second, there may be many things, like I said, you repeat or things that are challenging, or things that you might want to use in your class. You've seen it somewhere, but you want to recreate it yourself. We may not actually have the opportunity to do that. Another example, image translations. We went to Walt Disney World. I think it was Magic Kingdom. I don't know. And while we were there in the princesses camp, I wasn't taking pictures with the princesses, but other people were. And I saw this book right here, and I know the character, but I had no idea what it was saying right here. And so what I did was I simply took a picture of the what I did was I took a picture of the item. Where did I go? And then I simply asked it to translate. Oh, did I lose my example? Let me find it. Oh, by the way, here in these things they keep track of all the stuff that you have done in the past. I had it open. Visual. I'm working on a Visual Pro app. Just lots of, there we go. And so I asked it to all I said was please translate. And then it said based upon the image, this is German. Yes, I clearly didn't know it was German. And then it gave the German, and then it translated the young princess Snow White was the most beautiful in the whole land, but the evil queen was envious of her beauty. And the thing about this right here, the point here I'm trying to make right here is that this also works for short time key concepts or ideas that you might need. And so you may come across an image or come across a concept that you need explained or you need to understand how it works. You can quickly jump into these things and it will go ahead and it will give you what you need to know so you can go ahead and take that next step. And so, because a lot of the times when we're doing these complex tasks, we get to a roadblock and we kind of find a way around that roadblock. And these things allow us to make that next step so we can get to the our overall end goal. Another key example right here, another one is research project management. Share my screen. So this one right here, this is called Notebook LM. It's at notebooklm.google.com. And this right here was built for researchers in mind. Currently, I am working on, I don't if you went to the meetings at the beginning of the semester, they introduced a new college algebra class, MACF 105C. And one of the things they wanted to do was to research this course. Well, I found out like a week and a half ago that they wanted to research this course. So what was I supposed to do? So what I did was, by the way, my database management system is called Mendeley. I don't know what database management system that you use, but anyways, so I, went over the internet, did all the readings, collecting all these important papers, these papers that kind of link to work with and help me understand the ideas that we're trying to use to create the way to organize and understand this course. And what I did was I took all those sources and I added them in here. This notebook LM right here is designed for people who are doing research or trying to get a better understanding of documents. And so I put all these documents in there. And then I just asked it to just kind of give me an overview of all the documents that I have. 39 sources, and it just sat down and said that there are various approaches to improving student success in undergraduate mathematics and all that good stuff, technology, socioeconomic disparities, working with them in HBCUs, and all these different implications of using AI. I plan to use AI in my research project right here. And then from there, I use that to just make an outline of, that down here. And so I just say, okay, let's go ahead and let's do a literature review. And so what happens right here is it literally, based upon each of those topics that I found, put together a literature review for me. So the challenges, the ethnic and racial achieving graphs, gateway courses, high school preparation, supplemental instruction, prerequisite courses, artificial intelligence tools. And so they kind of put all of those together for me to give me a starting point to go ahead and to build this project right here. And then after that right here, I then asked it to, okay, can you help me with some research questions? It was able to help me build 3 research questions, give me the rationale behind each research question. And notice right here that for all of them, it's giving footnotes. It's giving where is all of this coming from. So if I want to, I can go back and read the supporting documentation, remind myself of all the stuff that we went through. Again, always, trying to build that spiral, that knowledge to get you better understanding of this, the topic right here. And then after that right here, I wanted to create a way of understanding my students and kind of predicting how students will do in this class. And so what I said was, okay, I want you to create a prompt. So I write out what I should tell the AI chatbot like ChatGPT so that it can create an artificial intelligent agent to help me monitor my students based upon the methodology and all the information that I have. And so it said, hey, chatbot, this is what I want you to do. You are going to be an artificial intelligence agent functioning as a continuous monitoring and analysis tool for college algebra students. This is the data that you're going to get. Each week, you're going to get grades, you're going to get the monthly data, and then what we want you to do, anomaly detection, identify which students are at risk, explain why those students are at risk, create a student performance index, go ahead and break students down into groups. Are they at risk? Are they performing well? Explain how these metrics come about and why they're used. Create a weekly reflection. Stop and kind of look back overall the course itself. Try to explain the effectiveness of the course and how we may improve this course as the semester goes on. The data will be anonymized and to prioritize privacy and try and give us actionable insights, help us monitor the course. Right? Huge amount of things, right? Again, this is not something I'd have been able to write just myself, but because it's pulling from all the sources and all the data and all the information that I've gathered, it's using all of that to give me a better outcome. And then I just went ahead and I did it. I used something called Deep Research. This one comes with the Pro. That's $20 a month. But use something Deep Research. In these Deep Research, what happens is that the AI creates a process and then goes through. It tries to understand the goal, what exactly they ask you to do. Create initial data and tasks. How am I going to approach it? Again, it's thinking almost like a human being. It's breaking the task down into all these little pieces, what I need to do. How am I going to analyze the data and explain what's going on? Then it breached the data right here, and then it made initial conclusions and observations, but then it went a step further and then tried to understand what students are at risk and then to try and give performance and a reflection. So it actually gives an explanation of what it tried to do. And of course, it actually did itself. So I gave it some data, week 3 right here, and then it identified key participants. It gave them a risk metric, and then gave you why the student was having that risk metric. And so you can go approach the student and tell them, hey, can we help you with this? Or is there a problem with X, Y, and Z that's going on? And then give overall index. Students doing excellent progress, in good standing. need to be monitored and students who are at risk. And so one of the things, for example, that we plan to do is then we're going to assign or we're going to go and follow up with those students who are at risk and try to go ahead and figure out what best we can do. Before, in the past, literally, we may have waited until after the first test or maybe even later in the semester before we can actually come figure out who is struggling, who is having a hard time, and these things right here. This thing right here, it does it almost immediately. We can run it several times a week if we wanted to, and it gives us an idea of what to try to do to help the student, as opposed to simply saying, hey, the student is at risk. Good luck. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Where one of the interesting things I noticed right here, for example, in the explanation, it actually called itself I, which I don't know what to say about that, but if you notice right here, it says I'm starting, and then I've received. So I don't know about all that just yet, but overall, right now, we're seeing a large number of companies in China, in the United States, in South Korea, in Europe. A large number of companies are working continuously to try to make these models better, try and make these reduce the errors. Like, for example, some looks like there's this problem of hallucinations where the AI simply says something it believes is true when it's not. They're actually working on ways to improve and remove that. And then also they're starting to apply these AIs in key areas like robotics, programming, um, um, management. Uh, Lots of small businesses now are popping up where a business that used to require 5 or 10, 15 people can now be run by like 3 people because they have all of these AI agents who can do a lot of the work for them. All right, I think I will end here so we have time for questions. I think the last slide is always, do you have any questions? Dr. Liu was the one who created this presentation, but he was up for TNP, tenure promotion, and so I came in for him. Any questions?
Hey, Dr. Maurice, thank you very much for the information. There are so many AI tools, Gen AI tools available right now. I mean, we're drowning in those tools, literally. So how in the world can we sort it out? There is another danger that you jump from one thing to another, and at one point, you see that they're doing similar things at the same time they're not, and how can we sort them out? Is there any good way?
Yeah, I had that same problem just a few weeks ago. I just asked ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and ChatGPT was able to give me a list, and then it asked it to do deep research. So again, in the deep research, it doesn't simply say, okay, I'm just going to use my knowledge. It actually goes onto the web and searches out websites, pages, and other references. It'll even go into Google Scholar and all the spaces. It'll search out more information. So if it believes, for example, scheduling AI is a good tool, it will go ahead and pull up the Schedule AI website, and then it'll go ahead and it'll actually look for reviews on scheduling AI, and then it'll kind of take all that data, compress it, and then give you a report on there. And so it'll do that for all of the scheduling apps that it found, and it will tell you, give you options. It'll give you pricing. It'll give you all of the different abilities that each of the tools have, and it will give you a recommendation on which one can fit your needs best, especially if you tell it what you're looking for. So yeah, so literally that's what I had to do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, to kind of spur the conversation on a little bit more, the, one of the interesting things right here is that we can use these with our students in the classroom. Um, a lot of our students right now are bringing up and pulling up data. I think last year I worked with a PhD student, and he was working on water consumption and trying to predict how much water will be consumed, especially for Florida because of its agriculture. That's a big issue. And what happens was he was able to go and collect data because they collect lots of data on that stuff, and then we were able to create a machine learning algorithm that kind of give them inputs, and then they will give us an output. Okay. Another example I think is in the arts is that a lot of things that we come across. What we have is a lot of blind spots. It's one of the big questions I always worry about when I'm creating or doing any kind of research. And one of the nice things about these things right here is that they often can find the blind spots that we may not have or not notice. And so one of the things that I like to do is after I've gone through, I have done my research, I've kind of put together how I believe things are, I just stop and ask, are there any blind spots, are there any topics or concepts that might be interesting or might be useful based upon what I'm researching or what I'm learning about. Yes. Oh, I should put my email up there, huh? Actually, on my flyer is all our names, and our names is first name dot last name. But let me put my name, my email address in the chat, so you guys can reach out. But one of the things that we will try to do is, since everyone had to register, we will, as soon as it's done, send out a recording of the video, and it comes with my email address, so you can always reply and ask questions, any more questions that you have. The other thing to keep in mind is that this is not just one, but it's a series of our meetings. And what happens is that over those meetings, we go deeper and deeper into that closes. Next meeting is next week, Wednesday. We go deeper into the topic with more specificity on how to do all these things that we're talking about. Anybody else? All right. Well, I will hang around if anyone else wants to ask questions. If not, Dr. Alo, you have anything you want to add?
We'll find a way to find you, Dr. Maurice. So, usually questions come later on when you start thinking about those things and, you need to share your thoughts. So most definitely we'll reach out to you later on. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So in your last example, when you said that you added the week 3 data, what form was that in?
That's the nice thing. It'll take any form. It will happen to be an Excel data sheet, but these things now, it can literally, you can have the data on a PDF. It's fine. It'll take it.
So I have students who are turning in homework with various formats, and some of it's graphical. Would it be possible for it to handle that, like a whole mix of
Yes, it
like
will.
text and PDF and graphics?
Yes, it will. Yeah, so normally for that, what we recommend is that you have to have an AI policy stated in the class, and the AI policy should have categories and the categories should be one category would be AI is allowed for this assignment. Another category is AI is allowed but with restrictions, and then another category AI is not allowed. And then you can go ahead and let them know which assignments fall within those categories. And normally, just giving them that guidance would be enough to help them recognize what, when, and how to use the AI, how to be more responsible with the AI itself. The oh, that was another example I was going to show, is that they can use the AI to learn, not as opposed to cheating. Because if you go into, for example, Google and say, hey, I am working on this problem, can you help me learn about this problem right here? They have learning modes where they will break down the problem and then explain each of the concepts and the ideas. And you could actually also give them practice on that concept that they're learning about. And so what I have found is that if students believe that they can do well on assignment, they will do it themselves as opposed to having to cheat. And so kind of giving them a guideline as to what kind of process and how to do it tends to help. But for your first question, yes. Literally it says, give me anything. So it can be text, it can be programming, it can be pictures, it can be now it's not as good as generating let's say for example your answer is going to be a table with 4 columns, and in each column each data point is not necessarily calculated but like a filling of something. It's generally not that good at creating the table itself, but the data itself, it will be able to calculate the data itself that goes into the table. um
Yeah, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
Go ahead.
Okay, so lately I saw this trend that people are kind of training the chat GPT for their own purposes. In other words, yeah, they add, okay, now, obviously I can't do something with, all right, anyway, I'll leave it. So they create some model within chat GPT which is specific for certain specific things. I saw this during the latest ACS, the last ACS meeting. They were doing this, for example, for protein folding. Okay, fine. We have other tools for protein folding, but I'm not quite sure how reliable these models are because okay, excuse my suspicion, but you can create a model that if you work from a small group that actually wants their own certain results presented in a certain way, they can create model which is easily manipulative. So, and I was bad enough to ask this question there when they presented this. So I didn't get a good answer on that. Yes. So do you have any experience with those training things and how reliable can they be?
So I'll give you an answer like this. What happens, one of the biggest issues they still have with these models right here is something called hallucinations, which is basically what you're saying is that you ask the model to tell me that is this protein folding correct? The model is either going to tell you yes or no, right? But the model has incentive to tell you yes, because that's what you asked it to do. Hey, can you fold this for me, please? And so it has the influence to try and give you something that's folded, right? They are working on that problem. And like I said, one of the things that they're doing, for example, is they're trying to even make the models more brain-like. So you know, for example, how your brain has different centers, different parts of your brain do different tasks very well. Part of your brain does seeing well, part of your brain does high reasoning well, and that kind of thing. They're trying to create those same kind of processes where a model will try to solve the problem in 4 or 5 different ways. And then each of the ways will come back and give it a probability of how correct it believe it is, or give it some way of flagging whether or not this answer is right. And then the model will choose from those the one that it thinks is best. A lot of the better ones now actually then take that and then do the same process again, make a small change to it, send it out to several models, have the models check it out here, and then come back and then say, okay, a kind of iterative learning process. And what they've found is that those models tend to do better. They're also working on getting models to just simply come back and simply say, I don't know. Simply say that I did this process right here, but it seems like it's only 20% chance that it's correct. And so they'll either give you the answer and tell you, yeah, but this is not a highly reliable answer, or will just simply come back and say, I don't know. And so they are aware of the problem and that they're working on it. The interesting thing is that there's now become a dichotomy where you have on one side these huge models, not DeepSeek, who released it? Was it Grok? They released a model of more than 1 trillion parameters, i.e. 1 trillion nodes, neural nodes in the model. And they had sent all of this information through the model to try and train the model. ChatGPT, for example, is really huge models, almost 1 trillion parameters. But now they're also working the other end, where they're making these mini models or these small models that are just very good at one thing. So maybe a model that's good at folding, and then you try and train, and you make those models do as best they can at just training protein folding. And so we kind of have this dichotomy right now, where you have these huge models, where I think they were trying to say, like Gronk, for example, maybe the next version would be at the PhD level, but not just the PhD level, at every PhD level. So if you need help in finance, if you need help in chemistry, if you need help in mathematics, you can do all of those. That's what they're trying to aim for these next huge models. And so we'll see. It's interesting how they're trying to figure all these things out.
So do these AI tools have good predictive probabilities?
The machine models are better because the AI tools that I was showing, for example, those are the large language models. They tend to be more reasoning and putting information together and spitting them out in a way that makes sense. But if you're trying to predict on a specific thing, a machine learning model would be the way that you tend to want to go. And so in that machine learning model, like I said, if you have a business and you try and predict how many sales that you have for Christmas, you might feed it your last 50 years of Christmas sales data. You might feed it changes in demographics. You might feed it current population population sizes in your area. And then all of that data is just focused on sales, and then ask it to predict how many sales you have. You get a much better answer than going to ChatGPT and say, hey, can you predict how many sales I'm going to have?
Thank you.
All right. Well, it's about that time. Say goodnight to all our company. Feel free to reach out to us at any time. We'll be able to help you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.